On today's show of the Draft and Stash podcast, we are getting into the point guard crunch. There's been a lot of discussion so far in this draft cycle of who is the best point guard and why. And there's all much of data and eye test. So we're just kind of going to get into it a little bit more specifically. And we're going to break down some of our favorite performances of the first two rounds as we go into the final four. But before that, got to hit the intro.
With the first pick, Victor Wembanyama.
Shaquille O'Neal. The Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant. The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan. Stephen Curry. LeBron James.
One of the most exciting drafts I can remember. And in the years I've been doing this, I think this draft is the best.
What is up, everybody? It's been longer than I wanted it to be. I've been working really hard on my modeler, and it's like every time I would add something else would break or some new data points would come in, and that would just throw things off. So it's been a lot of give and take for me trying to get the scores where I want them to be. It should be really close. I should have my big board in a little bit, hopefully with a couple of other draft gurus that will be coming on the show, and we're kind of going to do a big board battle a little bit. But let's get into our show today. Just like a quick first segment, which is going to be on basically the March Madness so far. Shout out to Texas. I fully thought they would get killed in the first round versus BYU, but I think a lot of us just assumed AJ DeBanza was good for at least one win. And that team is just really, really played into their strengths. They were very controlled. You got to see the good and the bad of Swain, unfortunately, especially in the last game when they went up against Purdue, where they had a chance, to win. Swain comes down and he cuts the defense. He goes in, he scores at the rim, he scores through contact, and ties it at 77. You're like, okay, cool. And then Purdue comes down out of a timeout and they score off of a missed basket because Swain is basically not boxing out his man correctly. And that's kind of just another thing that he doesn't do very well. And so it was really unfortunate to see him do something great and you kind of like nod your head at and then go, oh my God, this is one of his things that he has to fix up. He's just, he just doesn't steal his man correctly, and they go right over him and, get the tip back, and they end up winning the game. From there, I think a lot of people are probably, I don't want to say surprised about Arizona. I know all the people that really pay attention knew how good Arizona was. They have, it's almost like, them and Illinois are like a professional team almost. Like they have so many players that are from other countries just in doing work. But I think for your casual viewer, they fully expected Arkansas to come in and Darius Acuff, which is going to do his thing and just chop down Burries and Crevis and do this, and then all their athletes would just run on them. And I try to tell people, that I was around talking about the games. I was like, man, Arizona's really good. They have a lot of size. Mount Crevis is a legitimate big man. Koa Pete can be a mismatch nightmare if you don't have, you look at, Arkansas's Brazil, he tried, and there's just a cut above. With Brazil, he has size and length, and he can, pop here and there. But Koa Pete is just built differently. He's thicker. He's younger. He's just like a man almost. I think Koa has done a really good job at kind of showing what he could be. I'm still a little confused about where his placement is. I just don't know what he does well enough right now to get on the court, but he's making a really good case for him to be in that top 20 range for sure. And then of course, Brayden Burries has just, come on. A lot of people unfortunately didn't really know a lot about him, and he, I was telling people I think he's just gonna take it to Acuff, and he did, man. He's just bigger. He is a really strong combo guard, which we will get into obviously later when we're talking about all our point guards. But Duke loses in a crazy, Braylon Mullins miracle, almost half court shot. That kid has been very inconsistent. He's been inconsistent this entire March tournament so far. Reed has been really their unsung awesome hero. I definitely see his draft stuff going up now because he's getting a lot more eyes on him, and getting that buzz is really important. Some front offices like to go off of that, and they view that in March as being this real, like, testing ground. And so, if that player is really good here, then maybe they're, better. So, some people can get that like over inflated value and get them drafted. But beyond that, I think probably the best player has been Yaxel. He is older. We know that, I hate people saying, oh, like, if Yaxel was 19, would he be first? It's like, yeah, he's not 19 though, right? We saw him at 19 in the league, and that's not what he was. It took him, 3 years to get where he is, and that's okay. There's players, you just have to figure out if Yaxel is closer to Jimmy Butler than he is to a, Dalton Connect. You're hoping for the older prospect like a Butler who still has a lot of room to grow and can be like an all-star caliber player. And as opposed to a guy who's completely tapped his talent and is just going to give you like a role player style, overall talent pool for the next 5 or 6 years. But just in general, Yaxel has been awesome. He's showing all of his traits. His shot looks really good right now. His scoring gravity has been awesome for Michigan, and just in general, that Michigan team has been great. I mean, like Mara has this insane, block rate percentage, and it's on full display in March. Nobody's really scoring at the rim on him. He moves really well. And then, you've got Morez Johnson just doing, Morez Johnson things. He has been a little taken advantage of at times because he doesn't have a real good shot. So he's, they've kind of, how can I say this? Michigan's been hurt because he's not able to help, pull, his guy away. And so he's gotten benched at times because, they're not open enough space and lanes for, guys like, Cadeau and Yaxel. But they've looked really great. They are still my pick to win it. I picked them at the very beginning. I hate that them and Arizona is probably going to be our finals matchup, but Illinois has looked really good. You've got Keaton Wagler, who some people think is like maybe the next Penny Hardaway. He's obviously nowhere near as athletic, but size-wise, ball handling-wise, he has these. It's weird because, I don't think he's crazy athletic, but his burst step is really impressive for his size. And then he's got this really herky-jerky left to right ball handling move and these step backs, and you're just like, okay, yeah, like I can see this. A part of me thinks he could be maybe Josh Giddey with like an actual good shot, and if that's the case, then him hitting All-Star is very possible. But if he kind of never really fills out, if his body never gets stronger, if he's never able to really be able to turn the corner on guys going to the paint, and his ability at the paint doesn't get better, then he's gonna be very, very limited. Some other guys that I think have had pretty solid games. I think Phylon has looked great, and he's made himself a lot of money. Probably he should be moving up draft boards. Kingston Flemmings, if you weren't a fan of his, you probably still aren't. If you are a fan, then you probably still are. He basically was Kingston Flemmings. He is a very competent guard. He's good on defense. He's very smart. But his lack of scoring versatility and burst was really what hurt them in that game versus Illinois. Keaton Wagler used his size really well against him, and Kingston, and they just weren't able to score from the outside. But again, Illinois is basically like a Euro ball team based on all the players they have. So it's tough to really gauge. But Kingston, I think, will still be a top 10 pick. I just don't know where he goes now. And then finally, there's a couple of other guys I think. Vokaitis, Ivicevic, there a couple of other players have really caught eyes, and I think that will help them going towards. And maybe this crop of big men is a little bit deeper than we thought. But let's get into the more fun stuff, and that is going to be our point guard crunch. Okay, so how this is going to work is we are going to be talking about 8 players in general. That is going to be LeBaron Phylon, Darius Acuff, Mikel Brown, Bennet Stirtz, Tyler Tanner, Brayden Burries, Kingston Flemmings, and Keaton Wagler. I'm kind of going to be going through a couple of just like broad categories. So scoring, defense, athleticism, star appeal, and size. And at the end, we'll kind of just get like a consensus ranking of where all these guys are. And then I'll also have the ranking for their composite model scores in terms of to where all of the specific data and the projection models, all that stuff is then in there as well. And we'll see kind of where these guys rank a little bit differently. So let's start with scoring. Surprisingly, I assumed one would be Acuff, but it's actually Phylon. LeBaron Phylon is the most complete scorer in the class. Sorry, let me quantify that. When I say like in the clash or things like that, I'm talking more about these guards, specifically. Why he's number one? Well, he's averaging 21.7 on a 629 true shooting percentage, which is the best combo guard in the group. He's on a 40 percentile from three on real volume and at like 5.8 attempts. His overall pressure for free throws is also really good. He averages right under like 6 a game. And his shot profile grade is also really good. So what his numbers are kind of saying is he checks efficiency, volume, shot diversity, and his free throw generation. His strengths, he is a 3-level scorer, and that is not theoretical. He's efficient without sacrificing volume. He doesn't rely on just one scoring method. His concerns are his rim pressure is not elite, or it's more like athlete driven, and then he can lean more on finesse than force. Phylon doesn't just score a lot, he scores in the right ways, and that's why he separates from the others here. Number two, who I thought it would be Darius Acuff. He is the best pure shot creator of these guys. He averaged 23.3 points per game, which is the highest in the group, on 44.6 from three. He has a 6.5 assists per game. His scoring gravity and playmaking are very good. He has a elite offensive box plus minus. He is very heliocentric scoring engine, high usage, self-created offense, shot making from deep. His strengths, he can generate offense at any time. He's got an elite pull-up, perimeter scoring, high offensive ceiling. His concerns, though, are his shot diet is tough. He has real sustainability questions in that. He's less efficient at the rim than the other top-tier finishers. Acuff is the guy you hand the keys to. You better be ready to live with how he drives, though. Mikel Brown comes in at number 3 here, basically based on volume and projection scoring. He averaged 18.2 a game, 7.6 3-point attempts, which is a very like high volume shooter type. His free throw shooting is right at 82, which is really good. He has a overall like a really solid offensive profile. He is a pro projected scorer, high volume. He signals confidence, role. His efficiency is not elite yet, but his indicators are there. He's a willing shooter, which will be huge for his like NBA translation, size and shot creation combo, offensive versatility. His main concerns are he's just not efficient right now. He lags behind everybody in these like all these scoring rankings. His shot from 3 on is below 35, so he's going to need to really hit maybe like 2 to 3% higher in that clip based on his volume. You're betting on what Mikel Brown becomes as a scorer, not just what he is right now, though, when you're taking him. Keaton Wagler actually comes in at 4. He's an efficient modern scorer, strong efficiency profile with his high true shooting percentage and his shooting splits. He has a high volume shot selection, his balanced scoring. So he's not very heliocentric, but he is very productive. Wagler profiles as a modern efficiency scorer, good 3-point shooting indicators. He doesn't waste possessions. He plays with a strong offensive structure, clean shot diet, good decisions, reliable perimeter shooting. He doesn't need, high usage to produce. Some of his concerns, he's not a high-pressure scorer, really low rim pressure versus everybody else here. And he has limited self-creation compared to somebody like Acuff or Phylon. Wagler isn't hunting shots, but he's taking the right ones, and that's why his efficiency pops. Number 5 here is Bennet Stirtz as a efficient operator. He averaged just under 20 points per game on 60 true shooting, strong points per possession, and really good shot profile. High assist turnover efficiency. He really does smart shot selection, efficient scoring. He doesn't waste possessions either. He's just consistently really efficient. Strong decision making. He plays within his structure. His major concerns are he also lacks elite scoring pressure, and he's not really a bend the defense type of player. So Stirtz doesn't overwhelm you. He just quietly wins possessions over and over again. Tyler Tanner is at 6. He's a really good pressure scorer. He also averaged a little over 19 points per game with a 61 true shooting percentage. He has the highest rim pressure of anybody in this group, though. He's incredibly fast. He has a really good, strong free throw generation as well. His speed, his aggression, and he has this constant downhill pressure. For his strengths, he gets in the paint at will. He forces defenses to react. He's really efficient despite his size. His concerns, though, are his size really caps his finishing upside at the next level, and his shot versatility, it's really more limited than everybody else. Tanner doesn't just attack the rim, he also lives there. Number 7 is Brayden Burries. He's a scalable scorer, but he's not going to be a primary for you. He averaged just under 16 points per game, which is the lowest among all of his guards. His true shooting, though, is at 61. He has a lower usage, but for his like assist numbers is also pretty solid though. What the numbers say, he's more of a secondary profile, efficient, plays off others, doesn't really dominate possessions. He's a strong catch and shoot player, good efficiency across the board. He doesn't need high usage, which will be good in the league. Concerns, he's limited in terms of his own self-creation and carrying like a lower offensive load currently. Burries is the guy who fits into an offense, not the guy who is the offense. And then last here, which is probably not a shocker for a lot of people, is Kingston Flemmings. He's balanced but low scoring. He averages a little over 16.5 points per game. Only about 3 3-point attempts per game, which is very low volume. And his overall shot creation pressure is lower than the others. He is a connector scorer. He's not a driver of offense. He's an efficient shooter at 36.6 from 3, plays within the flow. He doesn't force bad shots. His concern, though, is just his low volume limits. Really, it just impacts his team overall. He doesn't pressure the defenses consistently, and he might live too much in that mid-range area. Flemmings can score, but he's not making defense worry about him. So of those guys, we had Phylon 1, Acuff 2. Number 3 was Bennet. Number 3 was Mikel Brown. 4 was Keaton Wagler. 5th was Stirtz. 6 is Tyler Tanner. 7 is Brayden Burries. And then 8 is Kingston Flemmings. Okay, so moving on to defense, we have got Brayden Burries at 1. He is a true two-way defensive foundation. He's the best defensive total in my model. He's at 6'4", 205. He's got a really good wingspan as well. He is a strong defensive rebounder for a guard, and he's got really high versatility indicators. This is the only player in this group whose defensive profile it actually translates up levels, not just across. He doesn't just stay in front or contest. He absorbs mismatches, switches, and wins physical battles. His strengths here are positional versatility. He can guard 1 through 3 comfortably, which is really rare. His physical disruption without gambling. He doesn't need steals to impact possessions. His rebounding impact, it will help in possessions. It's a huge underrated defensive trait. His frame is very defensive driven. His body alone will change a lot of matchups. His concerns are he's not a high steal block playmaker. He's more of a contain and control than a blow-up plays type of guy. He relies on, positioning and strength over elite quickness, which, could burn him in the league. Burries doesn't just defend his man, he defends lineups. Tyler Tanner comes in at number 2, high disruption, high risk defender. He has really elite steal numbers, strong activity, disruption metrics, high engagement defensively. What the numbers say, Tanner's defense is built on chaos and pressure. He creates extra possessions, turnovers, tempo swings, strengths, elite point of attack disruption. Ball handlers will feel him every possession. He does really great at turnover creation. One of the few players here who actually flips possessions. His motor and his competitiveness effort shows up consistently in all of his numbers. His concerns, though, of course, obviously are his size. He's most likely below 6 foot, which will be a defining issue, and that's not theoretical. He will be targeted physically with bigger guards, and they will hunt him. Aggression can backfire, overplays and breakdowns. Talking points, Tanner creates problems, but at the next level, he might also be one defensively. Kingston Flemmings comes in at number 3 here. Quietly strong positional defender, balanced defensive metrics across the board, solid defensive box plus minus, rebounding, consistency indicators. Flemmings is a low error defender. He doesn't gamble. He doesn't overextend. He executes assignments consistently. His strengths are rotational discipline. He's always in the right place, which is really huge for team defense. Positional awareness, understands angles, spacing. He help responsibilities, reliable containment. He doesn't give up easy breakdowns. Concerns, low playmaking defensively. He doesn't generate a lot of steals or blocks either. He doesn't impose himself physically, and he's more reactive than he is disruptive. He's not making the highlight plays, but he's also not making mistakes for the most part out there. Keaton Wagler comes in at number 4. He's structured, system-friendly defender. Strong defensive rating context overall. He's balanced across most of the categories. He has no major weaknesses. Wagler is a system defender. He thrives when the roles are clear and that the structure is really intact. He doesn't create chaos. He stabilizes possessions, if that makes sense. Strengths, positional integrity. He stays within the scheme consistently. His awareness and his positioning. He understands rotations and spacing. He has a low mistake rate. He doesn't give offenses really like any easy advantage and doesn't really gamble a lot. Concerns, he's limited defensive playmaking. He's not really disruptive either. He kind of just tries to contain. He has really average physical tools, so he's not really, his frame hasn't really grown out yet. He's light on his feet. People might be able to just play through him as well at the next level. And he doesn't really elevate a defense currently. He really just holds it with like a nice floor. That also makes sense. So he's not going to fix any defenses, but he's not going to break them either. Bennet Stirtz comes in at number 5. He's disciplined but low impact defender. Strong metrics, low foul rates, solid position indicators. This is similar to his offensive profile as well. He executes assignments, he avoids mistakes, but he doesn't change possessions as well. Strengths, he has a very high defensive IQ. To read plays well, he's positionally sound, so he's rarely out of place, and he's a very low-risk defender. His concerns, though, are his low disruption. He also doesn't generate a lot of steals or blocks. He's also very limited in terms of physical tools, just between his size and his lower level of athleticism. So he has very low defensive upside. He defends correctly, but not very impactfully. Mikel comes in at 6. Tools, present, impact is inconsistent. Good size at 6'5", with the wingspan probably around like 6'7", maybe a little bit longer. Moderate defensive metrics, not great ones. He is a tools right now versus a production defender. He should be a better defender. He should be a better defender than he is just based on all of his size metrics. His size position, he can contest and switch more than smaller guards. His rebounding helps from the guard spot, flashes of a defensive upside. The concerns, though, are his effort really fluctuates, which gives him this inconsistent engagement overall. Low disruption relative to his size, and he doesn't consistently leverage his size in any type of meaningful advantage. He has the tools to be a good defender, but the numbers say he just isn't there yet, and he might not ever really get there. Number 7 is LeBaron Philon. Offensive focus, shows up defensively. He has lower defensive impact metrics, limited disruption, inconsistent engagement indicators. Philon defensive profile reflects his offensive role. Energy is tilted towards scoring, obviously not towards defense. His strengths, capable when he's engaged. He's not completely lost defensively. Solid baseline awareness. His concerns, though, are low defensive playmaking, inconsistent effort, doesn't impact possessions defensively. You're drafting his offense and hoping the defense at some point kind of catches up. Darius Acuff, which we all expected to be last here, is a clear defensive liability. He has the lowest defensive total in the group, minimal disruption, neutral to negative defensive box plus minus. This is a one-way profile right now. He doesn't create defensive events. He doesn't anchor possessions. He has occasional on-ball flashes when he's not completely disengaged, and he can get some really nice turnover numbers with steals and things like that. But his concerns are just low physical impact, limited defensive presence, and he's going to get targeted. He is if he's your best player, if he's your best player, your defense has to work around him. Yeah. So going into the size breakdown, number 1 here is Brayden Burries. He is a prototype NBA guard frame, 6'4", 205. His wingspan, I think, is around 84, based on just online reports. He has a really strong frame, the physical profile. He is the best positional size of anybody in this model. Burries isn't just good size for his guard. He is a mismatch resistant and matchup flexible. His size is 2 major things. He raises his defensive ceiling and he lowers his bust risk. Strength, elite wingspan relative to height allows him to contest above his size, disrupt passing lanes, and guard bigger players. NBA ready strength. He's already built to absorb contact. Positional flexibility. He can realistically guard up position without breaking. Physical durability, projection, body suggestibility to handle NBA wear and tear, which will be good over that 82 game stretch, which apparently is never going to get lower below 82. Concerns, not oversized in height. He wins his length and strength, not with a height advantage. Frame is strong, but not freakish beyond wingspan. He doesn't just have good size. He has useful size that will translate on both ends. Mikel Brown is number 2 here in size. He has the ideal modern guard size, 6'5" with around a 6'7" wingspan, lean but functional frame, strong positional size metrics. Brown fits the modern NBA guard blueprint. Size allows offensive freedom and defensive survivability. Strengths, height advantage at his guard spot. He's going to get easier shot creation on his release points. He can bother shots even without elite defense. He can slide across guard spots more comfortably. His size supports his shot heavy profile as well, which, he is a high volume, type of shooter. Concerns, his frame is not fully filled out yet. He can still be physically challenged. He doesn't really dominate physical despite size. His size advantage, not always leveraged, unfortunately. He has the size you want, and now it's just about whether he learns to use it, basically. Moving on to number 3, which is LeBaron Philon, 6'4". I've got his wingspan around 6'6", balanced physical profile. No real size-related red flags for him. Philon sits in that safe size tier. He's not winning the size, but he's also not losing because of it. He's got his baseline fits really cleanly into the NBA guard mold. His balanced length is enough to survive on both ends. He doesn't require lineup protection. Supports his scoring versatility. Concerns, no standout physical advantage. He won't create mismatches because of his size, and he will be average for projection, not really a separator. He checks the size box, but he doesn't win because of it. Keaton Wagler comes in at number 4, functional, neutral size profile, solid guard measurements, average wingspan, though, for his frame. No major positives or negatives. Wagler's size, it's very neutral. It won't define its career either way. It's really, so his size is really, his height is nice, but his weight he's so thin right now that's really what is going to hold him back currently. So he's just not going to have a physical advantage anywhere. He's not going to be able to help, create separation or mismatches, limits his defensive upside currently, but his frame work should be good. It should allow him to put on about 15 pounds. And if he's able to do that, I think that he could easily be 1 or 2 on this list, within a year or two. Moving number 5 is Kingston Flemmings. He's slightly below impact threshold. They're saying 6'4". He might be shorter than that. And I've got his wingspan a little bit around 6'5". He has a very lean frame, which is slightly below for his average strength profile. Flemmings is right on the line of playable size versus impact size. Adequate height for position, can survive in standard matchups, doesn't immediately limit his role. His concern is his limited strength profile. He can get moved by stronger guards. His average wingspan is relative to his peers. He doesn't really add defensive value physically. He's big enough to play, but not big enough to matter really where it matters. That was kind of redundant. Number 6 is Bennet Stirtz. Adequate, but a limiting physical profile. Solid height, but limited strength, impact, below average physical influence metrics. Stirtz's size is functionally playable, but it's not really additive. He meets minimum NBA guard thresholds. He doesn't need to be high. He doesn't need to be hidden defensively, and he supports his control-based game. Concerns is he doesn't really hold any type of physical edge. Limited ability to absorb contact. Doesn't enhance his offense or his defensive ceilings. He has enough size to survive, but not enough to really elevate. Number 7 is Darius Acuff, below average physical profile for his role. He has a smaller frame, limited wingspan impact, below average strength indicators. This is where Acuff's profile starts to show real weakness. His game demands size, but his body doesn't fully support it. Strength is quickness helps compensate somewhat. It can still function offensively. His concerns are lack of strength limits his finishing, defensive targeting risks, and lower margin for error as a primary guard. He plays like a big usage guard, but doesn't have the body for one. Tyler Tanner obviously comes in at number 8, size outlier with real translation risk. I've got him at 6 foot. He's probably 5'10", but he's. I'm trying to go up a little bit, but he is probably smaller than that. Tanner size isn't just below average; it's a defining variable in his projection. Everything in his game must overcome it. His low center of gravity will help with his speed. His quickness offsets some physical limitations, but his concerns are finishing versus size becomes much harder at the next level. Defensive targeting will definitely happen at the next level. His limited positional versatility requires specific roster construction. He's not just small, he's the kind of small that changes how you have to build a team. Then you just kind of like here, just like something like final talking points on the size. Burries has a clear separation. Mikel has a really great modern guard look. He just hasn't figured it out. Safest size will be Phylon. And the person who's neutral is just Wagler, and the biggest concern is Tanner there. And then one of our last ones here, athleticism. Brayden Burries gets this one as well. He's also number one here. He has the highest athleticism total in my model. He has strong tool scores plus activity metrics. He has 16 dunks, which is a really good indicator. He also has high rebound activity for his position. Burries isn't just athletic; he is a impact athletic. This shows up in his finishing through contact, his rebounding above his position, and defensive physicality. He combines his strength, his length, and he has enough burst. That's the exact archetype that translates really cleanly. His strengths are power, but it's a balanced combination. He doesn't get knocked off drives or defensive positioning. Functional explosiveness, he's not just vertical, he's usable in game athleticism. Plays through contact, huge for both ends of the floor. And his rebounding athleticism indicates timing, strength, not just being able to jump, but he really focuses and understands when and how to get around players and where to jump and time. So just really cool, smart stuff from him. And he's he's not very old, so that's just, it really tracks well. His concerns would be he's not a pure twitch burst style athlete, so he wins more with his strength than his elite speed, and he doesn't have that elite first step separator. Talking point, he's not a flashy athlete, but he's the one who actually affects the game physically. Number 2 here is Mikel Brown, smooth athlete with scalable tools. He's got a really strong tool score, good size, plus movement combinations, solid activity indicators. Brown is a fluid, scalable athlete. He's not overwhelming physically, but he is consistently effective athletically. His movement profile supports shot creation, defensive potential, transition plays, his strengths, fluid movement mechanics, easy change of direction, balanced movement, functional burst, enough speed to create his advantages. He's got a good combination of size and athleticism, which makes him more valuable on that end. His translatable mobility, he doesn't really rely on one athletic trait, which will be good at the next level as well. His only real concerns here, he's not explosive vertically. He doesn't dominate athletically, and he kind of relies on his skill and rhythm as much as his other tools. He's not blowing past everyone, but he's He's not blowing past everyone, but he's never physically outmatched either. Number 3 here was Kingston Flemmings. Balanced athlete with no real gaps, strong activity, movement, balance across categories, no major athletic weaknesses. Flemmings is a complete balanced athlete. He's not elite in any one area, but there are no holes in his movement profile. His strengths, consistent movement ability. He can handle both ends without breaking. Solid lateral mobility, helps defensive reliability, good overall coordination, plays at a controlled athletic pace. His concerns is he has no standout athletic trait. He doesn't really create advantage through burst, and he relies more on positioning than physical dominance. He's not winning with athleticism, but he's never losing because of it. Number 4 here is LeBaron Phylon, functional athlete driven by skill and control, strong rim pressure, numbers, good offensive movement indicators, limited dunk vertical indicators. Phylon athleticism is skill supported. It's not really tool driven. He creates advantages through timing, footwork, and control more than his explosive burst. His strengths are controlled downhill movement, gets to his spots pretty consistently, functional quickness, enough to create his separation. He's got balance and body control, helps finishing and shot creation, and his athletic efficiency, so he doesn't really waste any movement. His concerns here are he just has a limited vertical pop. He's not very overwhelmingly physical, and his rim pressure isn't really based on his burst. He gets where he wants, but not because he's faster or stronger than everyone. Keaton Wagler actually comes in at number 5 here. He's a baseline functional athlete. He has very average tool scores, balanced but unspectacular movement metrics. Wagler is athletically sufficient, but he's not really impactful. His athleticism allows him to play his role, execute his style, but he doesn't really know how to create advantages. His strengths, stable movement profile. There's no major athletic flaws here for him. He has a good balance and coordination, enough mobility to stay playable. His concerns are he doesn't really have a burst advantage yet beyond his step backs. He has a very limited verticality. He has no dunks. which, people will talk about, all the time. And he doesn't really pressure defenses physically. He gets the rim a lot, but he's just hasn't really been able to finish, which you hope that he gets stronger. He has enough athleticism to play, but not enough to change games. Bennet Stirtz comes in at number 6. He's a very control-based athlete. He has a lower tool score, limited explosive indicators, strong control, and efficiency markers. Stirtz is similar to Phylon, but less physical upside. He has got really good processing and control, more than really like having a physical advantage. His strengths are movement, efficiency. He's rarely out of control, good pace manipulation, functional quickness in short spaces. His concerns, though, are he has very limited burst, minimal vertical threat as well. He doesn't really create separation athletically, relies heavily on decision-making over tools. I think he has like 10 or 11 dunks, which, does track, better than other guys here. But, he doesn't really have other functional like athleticism. He's not winning. He wins with his timing and not with the speed, basically. Tyler Tanner comes in at number 7. He's got very high rim pressure, lower tool score overall, limited vertical and strength indicators. Tanner is a single trait athlete. Man, I'm sorry, my words are not working today. His speed is very elite. Everything else is very limited, basically. His strengths are elite quickness plus acceleration. First step is dangerous. Ability to pressure the rim. He plays fast consistently. Concerns, though, are his lack of strength, his lack of verticality. His finishing becomes harder versus size. His speed advantage shrinks at the next level. Limited versatility athletically. He's fast, but speed alone will not always translate. And then Darius Acuff, I was a little surprised that he was ranked this low in the athletic tool, but he has the lowest oh my God. He has the lowest athleticism score in the group, really limited tool indicators, and he relies heavily on his shot-making ability. His almost entire skill-driven offense, his athleticism, it doesn't really create separation consistently. It doesn't really provide defensive value. His strengths, functional movement for scoring, can operate within his athletic limits. His concerns, though, limited bursts and his lack of vertical ability. He struggles to create easy advantages physically. Heavy reliance on tough shot making, low margin for error at next level. He doesn't win physically. He wins because he can make shots others can't. Yeah, and then our final category here is the star appeal, like, which player, might, potentially translate the most at the next level. Number 1 here is Darius Acuff. I don't think that's a shock to anybody. He's a pure give him the keys upside. He has the highest offensive load in the group. He is the best at elite shot creation metrics. His strong offensive box plus minus and his usage indicators. He has a proven ability to carry offenses. Acuff is the only player here who clearly profiles as a primary offensive engine. Not just because he's the best player on a team, but because the offense will run through him at all times. Strengths, self-creation at an elite volume. He can generate offense regardless of coverage. Shot-making ceiling, tough shot ability translates to to late clock situations. His offensive gravity, defenses must adjust to him, not the other way around. Playmaking through pressure. Assist numbers come from defensive collapse, not just his reads. His concerns, though, he has a heavy reliance on difficult shot making, doesn't create easy offense consistently. Defensive liabilities lower his overall star value, requires rosters to build around him. If you're betting on a star, this is the bet, but it's not a safe one. Tyler Tanner actually comes in at number 2 here. He has a high impact production with visibility. He has really strong scoring and playmaking production, elite rim pressure, high involvement in offense. Tanner generates constant offensive action. He's always driving, creating, forcing decisions. That creates a perception and reality of real star impact. Strengths, he has a high usage effectiveness. He can carry offensive stretches. He forces defenses into rotations. His game pops, fans and scouts feel it. He has a real competitive edge as well. Concerns, though, his size, obviously, it caps his star ceiling significantly. His finishing versus NBA length becomes much harder. His defensive limitations affect total value, and he will require a specific system to fit. He plays like a star. The question is whether his body lets him actually become one. Number 3 here is Kingston Flemmings. He is a subtle star pathway through control. Balanced profile across all categories, strong decision-making plus efficiency, no major weaknesses. Flemmings is not a traditional star. He's a control-based upside player. The type that elevates a team, wins possessions, doesn't dominate headlines. Strengths, complete skill profile, no holes, offensive, defensive decision-making, they're all stable. Scalable impact, he can play with or without the ball. Consistency, rarely has low impact games. His game is just overall very translatable. Concerns, he really lacks one defining elite trait. He doesn't really dominate on offensively, and his star ceiling will, pretty much depend on his efficiency and not his ability to actually take over. He might not look like a star, but he plays, but he might play like one over time. Number 4 here is Mikel Brown, who has really great size and scoring volume, high 3-point volume, offensive versatility. Brown has a blueprint for a modern scoring guard upside. The ingredients are all there: size, shot creation, volume, but they're not really defined yet. His strengths are his scoring R-type will translate. High volume shooters get really great opportunities in the NBA. His size supports usage, shot versatility, upside tied to development curve. His concerns, though, are his efficiency is very inconsistent. His impact not really matching his tools yet. He's still more projection than production. He has his star blueprint. He just hasn't fully built it yet. Brayden Burries, it comes at number 5 here. Two-way impact over offensive dominance. He has a really strong two-way profile, elite size and athleticism, lower offensive usage. Burries' appeal is his impact, not his takeover. He will affect defenses, physical matchups, winning plays, but he will not dominate on offense. His strengths, he has really great two-way value. He really contributes across just a whole bunch of different categories. He has a really great physical preference. A really great physical presence, man. Low risk projection. He fits winning environments. Concerns are basically just going to be his limited offensive creation ceiling. He's not going to be a primary option. His star path will depend on his role expansion. He might be the best player on a good team, but not the reason that you actually built it. All right. LeBaron Philon comes in at number 6. He's elite scorer, but limited star indicators. Best scoring profile. Lower defensive and athletic impact, moderate usage relative to Acuff with the number 6. Philon is an elite skill player, not a full star profile. His value is tied heavily to scoring, but star players usually bring multiple impact areas. Strengths, high level scoring skill, efficient production, reliable offensive output. His concerns are his defensive limits his total value. Athletic ceiling's not elite. Doesn't dominate outside scoring, more elite role scorer than a primary engine. He might be the best scorer here, but that doesn't always mean star. Number 7, Keaton Wagler. He has a very efficient profile with low usage, limited creation indicators. Wagler is a role player archetype at scale. He helps teams win and offenses function, but he doesn't really drive them. His strengths currently are efficiency and reliability. He fits next to stars easily, and he's a low variance player. His concerns are his limited shot creation, his low offensive gravity, no real takeover ability, and star path is going to be extremely narrow. He makes stars better. He's just probably not becoming one. Bennet Stirtz. Control without taking over. He has strong efficiency in decision-making, low usage, and low creation pressure, limited physical tools. He is a high-level connector, not a star archetype. Even with his great control and strong IQ, he still lacks force, physical edge, and a really good scoring gravity. Strengths, elite decision-making, offensive control, scalability. Concerns are low usage ceilings, limited creation pressure, not elite physical traits. Star pathway will be extremely limited. He might run your offense, but he probably won't be the face of it. So our final kind of like consensus here. So I wanted to have the actual like data numbers for their final composite scores to see kind of, where things, should have ended up. So based on these categories, we've got Brayden Burries at 1. He was number 1 in defense, number 1 in size, number 1 in athleticism, which he was strong across every category. Burries didn't dominate one offensive category. He dominated translation traits. Burries is the best bet to translate cleanly to the NBA, even if he's not the flashiest player. Number 2 was LeBaron Philon. He was the top scorer. He was very elite efficiency, shot profile, no major weaknesses. He's the most complete offensive player. Number 3 was Mikel Brown. He's got great top end size, athleticism combos, strong scoring projections, solid across all the categories. Number 4 was Keaton Wagler. He was also strong across all categories, no real weaknesses, but not really no elite traits. So the model, this is kind of crazy. The model loves, for mine, the efficiency, stability, and low mistakes. But when you look into other scouting factors, there's like this wider range. So Keaton Wagler was number 1 in terms of scoring output on the model at a 7.7, but he's 4th on the list. Kingston Flemmings comes in at 5. He was top 3 in defense, athleticism, balance across every category, no real holes. Number 6 is Tyler Tanner, with elite rim pressure, scoring production, but last in size and body share athleticism. Number 7 was Darius Acuff, he was top in star appeal, top in scoring, but his defense, and his athleticism were both not very great. And then Bennet Stirtz comes in at 8. He's really middle of the pack everywhere. No elite category wins, lowest physical upside. So if we're looking at just the composite stuff, though, it's crazy. So Keaton Wagler was 1 with a 7.7. Darius Acuff was number 2 with based on decimals like 7.2 something. And then behind him was Brayden Burries, and then it's LeBaron Philon. And then the 5th was Kingston Flemmings. And then 6th was Tyler Tanner, and then Mikel Brown, and then Bennet Stirtz. So it's just kind of weird that I took, other data and put it into these basic categories. And then it was like, okay, just based on this stuff that might be translatable, this is who's best at these things. But if you look at the 150 types of data points that I've been putting in, just all this code. Oh my God. When you look at all that stuff where everything kind of projects based on, size and pace and usage and all types of just all types of, block percentage, steal percentages, just on and on and on. And health factors and those guys are just ranked a little bit differently. So it's very much this, do you trust, what the model says, or do you trust the more broad, breakdown, right? Is the model too lost in translation with this analysis paralysis almost? And then, you kind of just trust a more, broad approach here. Cause if you go that way, I would say, that Burries might, currently track the best out of all these guards with, Wagler being, much lower. But on that note, I mean, Darius Acuff, is definitely probably going to go 5th or 6th. But on this list, he would be the 6th or 7th best guard. So I don't know. This stuff is it's always fun. I love data and just talking. I love basketball. And obviously, you don't do one or the other. You don't think oh, it's only eye test. Oh, it's only data. Seth Partnoy said, basically the data is the outcome of how the player plays. You shouldn't use the data to explain a player. It makes no sense. So you're what a person plays really hard on the court, these are the quantifiable factors that we can see in terms of why they're affecting the game, how they are. So some people can really take all those numbers and use those as these weird, tools, to explain things, but it's really the other way around. And so much fun. I hope you guys enjoyed all that point guard crunch. Hopefully, maybe it answers some questions, or maybe you're still just drawn, your line in the sand, and you think, no, man, Bennet Stirtz is still the best, or no, Darius Acuff's still the best. But hopefully you can just hear this and just maybe it opens up your eyes in other ways. Join us next week. We will be breaking down I guess just really all of the best performances of March Madness. And then we're going to be shooting towards the draft lottery, I think in a month, which that's really exciting. I'm going to have a guest on for that. And then at some point, what I want to do is kind of maybe a few episodes where I kind of put on team caps and talk about how they should approach the draft and some really good prospects in terms of their ranges and stuff. And we'll get more into, player battles and big boards and mock drafts and stuff. So a whole bunch of exciting stuff. We're really going to be ramping up. As soon as I get all of this modeler stuff done, I'll really be able to start doing hopefully 1 to 2 episodes a week so we can really have some fun here. You guys have a great week. And as always, never stop watching basketball.
I've been doing this for 10 years. he's 2 years away from being 2 years away, and then we'll see.